how sustainable is your life? You know, these days, sustainability is a really popular word, and it's a word that I like myself because, you know, it really helps us to take and understand, are things going uphill in the world or are they going downhill in the world? It seems like that we spend a lot of time focusing on the sustainability of businesses, of the environment, of eco things, of food supply, of a lot of different things that we talk about sustainability in. Well, and that's a good thing. Sustainability means the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level. Because if you're not, slowly or rapidly going somewhere in an uphill fashion or an improvement fashion, then you're going downhill. And so, think about the economy. If the economy wasn't sustainable, and so it just coasted along, and we all know that after a while, things that coast along come to a stop. And if they comes to a stop, then, there's going to be a lot of people out of work, unemployed, and all kinds of things that will go on with that. And so things don't really coast along very well. If they keep coasting, it's then where they start going downhill. And so often in our own life, that is how we often think our lives are to be, because after all, that's how people all around us tell us all the time. People don't get excited about turning 30 years old because of all the new things that they're going to be moving into in the next decade of their life. The same thing with 40 years old, and the same thing with 50 years old, and the same thing with 60 years old. It seems like every 10-year period in their lives that people that just dread that point of their life and moving forward. And that's because that we don't see our lives as being sustainably improving. We see our lives as leveling out and then slowly, sustainably going downhill. And so I'm going to be talking more about all this here in just a moment. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Non-Monogamous Mark, and I'm the executive director and also the co-founder of Ethical and Consensual Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association. We also think of that as being ECNMLA Association. And at ECNMLA Association, we try to take and help people to stretch and exercise their mental muscles so that they can have an intentional, growing, sex-positive ECNM life that they create, that increases their abundance, their liberation, and their freedom in their lives financially, with respect to your, with respect to your health, your fitness, and your fitness and your recreation, with respect to your relationships, from friendships to relatives to neighbors or co-workers to professional relationships to sexy friends, all of your relationships. And also then increasing the abundance, the liberation, and the freedom in your life with respect to your love life and also your sex life. And so we work to stretch and exercise your mental muscle in all of those areas. And so that's where I come back to you about this question. How sustainable is your life? You see, we find it so easy to look outside of ourselves. We look at the economy, we look at the government, we look at the businesses out there, we look at the environment out there, we look at so many things in the world and we talk about sustainability. But we fail to look at ourselves and think about sustainability. And so I'm going to take this moment here in this video to point you in the direction of thinking about that sustainability in your life, so that you can keep your finances moving forward in a sustainable way. And just ask yourself as we move into this next year, are they going to be improving or are they going to be declining? People think about when they retire that their finances are going to go downhill at that point. It shouldn't be that way. Not if you create the life that you should be creating. And that's what we help you to do, is to start creating that life that's intentional so that you keep the trajectory of your life in all the areas, whether it be finances, health, fitness, relationships, love and sex, all of those areas. We want to keep you pointed upwards and keep you progressing, keep you growing, so that you become the best you that's possible for you to be. But you know, it's so easy for us to look outside at the sustainability of everything else that we kind of forget about looking at ourselves. When in reality, sometimes we find it's easier to look outside than it is to look inside of ourselves. Now, I'm just going to encourage you, because this is where growth takes place, and this is where that it starts to happen for you to create this intentional life that is a great life. It becomes your dream life that you get excited about living each and every day, because you're in a process of growing and you are on track, and rather than forgetting about the track. And so you put your focus outside of yourself instead of within yourself, because you don't want to focus within yourself, because you don't want to think about that. You don't want to be reminded of your own life. Well, put your life in a place where you do want to be reminded of your own life and get it on track. And so I'm going to go ahead and say thank you very much for listening to me today. And if you want to know more about ECNM lifestyles, then go ahead and click on that link, and we'll be bringing you more things in the days to come to stretch and exercise your mental muscle so that you can increase the abundance, liberation,